So, good morning, everyone. Good morning. We are going to start a new topic now, that is pledge. In the last class, we were discussing this topic in between. So, now we are going to move ahead in the topic. First of all, I'm going to take a quick revision what is pledge, and then we are going to move ahead. So just a minute, I'm sharing the PPT with you. Okay. So I told you that in contract of pledge, one person gives the goods to another person, delivers the goods to another person as a security for payment of debt. For example, Shilpi wants to take a loan from Upender. So Shilpi wants to take a loan of 50,000. Shilpi has kept her laptop with Upender as a security. Now, if Shilpi do not repay the loan, the Mr. Upender will sell the laptop of Shilpi and will recover the loan amount. So this is a contract of pledge. In this, Shilpi kept the laptop with Upender as a security, but owner will be Shilpi only. Ownership does not change, but physical possession is changed from Shilpi to Upender. It is known as contract of pledge. Example, A lends money to B against security of jewelry deposited by B with him. That is A. The this bailment of jewelry is a pledge as a security for lending the money. B is a pledger, A is a pledge. B is a pledger because B has kept the security. A is a pledgee because with A he has kept the jewelry. Essentials of pledge. A. There should be a bailment for security against payment or performance of the promise. The subject matter of pledge is goods. Goods pledge shall be in existence. There should be delivery of goods from pledger to pledgee. From Shilpi to Upender. There should be delivery of goods from one person to another. From pledger to pledgee. Now, what are the rights of pledgee? What are the rights of pledgee? Right to retain the goods pledged. The pledgee may retain the goods pledged not only for payment of debt or the performance of the promise, but for the interest of the debt and for all the necessary expenses incurred by him in respect of the possession or for the preservation of the goods pledged. For example, M pledges stock of goods for certain loan from a bank. The bank has a right to retain the goods not only for adjustment on loan but also for repayment of interest. So, बच्चों, suppose you have kept, uh, for example, Nitish has taken a loan from Aditya of 5 lakh rupees and Nitish has kept his car with Aditya. Now, Aditya is a pledgee. Aditya has a right that Aditya will keep the car with himself until and unless Nitish do not repay the loan as well as the interest on loan. Suppose the loan is of 5 lakh and interest is of rupees 1 lakh. Now, until and unless Nitish do not pay 6 lakh rupees to Aditya, Aditya will keep the car with himself. Right to retention of subsequent debt. Now, for example, Upender has taken 50,000 rupees from Rahul and Upender has kept his Activa with Rahul. Upender has taken 50,000 rupees from Rahul and Upender has kept his Activa with Rahul as a security. So, bachcho, this is a contract of pledge where pledger Upender delivers the scooty to pledgee Rahul, but owner will be Upender only. Suppose after 1 month, Upender takes 10,000 rupees more from Rahul, and Rahul tells to Upender that I have given you 50,000 plus 10, 60,000 now. Now, until and unless you do not repay me 60,000, I will not return your scooty. Upendra said, okay. So now Rahul has a right that he can keep the scooty with himself until and unless Upendra do not repay complete 60,000 rupees. This is known as right of retention of subsequent debts under section 174. The pledgee shall not, in the absence of a contract to that effect, retain the goods pledged for any debt or promise other than the debt or promise for which they are pledged. But such contract, in the absence of anything to the contrary, shall be presumed in regard to subsequent advances made by the pledge. Pledgee's right to extraordinary expenses. The pledgee is entitled to receive from the pledger extraordinary expenses incurred by him for the preservation of the goods pledged. For such expenses, he does not have the right to retain the goods. For example, uh, I have taken a loan from Shilpi of rupees 20,000, and as a security, I kept my dog with Shilpi. I am very attached to my dog, and as a security, I kept my dog with Shilpi. Meanwhile, my dog was with Shilpi. My dog falls ill, and because of that, Shilpi has to spend rupees 2,000 on my dog because he fell ill. Now, in such a case, the expenses which is done by Shilpi, the extraordinary expenses which is done by Shilpi, Shilpi will take that expenses from me. Now I have to repay the loan of 20,000 as well as 2,000 rupees that is incurred by Shilpi in preservation for taking care of my dog. So pledgee has a right to extraordinary expenses incurred by the pledgee. Pledgee's right where pledger makes default. Pledgee's right where pledger make default. If the pledger makes default in the payment of the debt or performance at the stipulated time of the promise in respect of the goods pledged, the pledgee may bring a suit against the pledger upon the debt or promise and retain the goods pledged as a collateral security, or he may sell the goods pledged on giving the pledger reasonable notice of the sale. For example, Upender has taken a loan of 50,000 from Rahul, and Upender has kept his Activa with Rahul. Now, Upender did not repay the loan, so Rahul will give a notice to Upender that you have to repay me the loan, for example, within 10 days, or I will sell your Activa. Now, if Upender do not repay the loan within 10 days, Rahul has a right that Rahul will sell the Activa of Upender and recover 50,000 rupees. So, pledgee has a right to sell the goods pledged with him if the pledger do not repay the loan, makes any default. Duties of pledgee. Pledgee has the following duty. A. Duty to take reasonable care of the goods pledged. Whatever goods are pledged, you have to take reasonable care of these goods. Otherwise, pledgee will be responsible. B. Duty not to make unauthorized use of pledged goods. C. Duty to return the goods when the debt has been repaid or the promise has been performed. D. Duty not to mix his own goods with goods pledged. E. Duty not to do any act which is inconsistent with the terms of the pledge. F. Duty to return assertion to the goods if any. All these are duties of pledging. Same as duties of bailee. Same as the duties of bailee, same are the duties of pledging. Rights of pleasure. Now see, rights of pleasures are same as the rights of bailer. We have done with the contract of bailment all the rights, all the right which pleasure has, same rights are having with bailer. Beti, pleasure is also known as pawner. Pledgee. Bete, pledgee means the person to whom you kept the security. For example, Upender has given Activa to Rahul as a security. Upender has given Activa to Rahul as security for a loan. Upender will be known as pledger. Rahul will be known as pledgee. The person who delivered the good is known as pledger, and the person to whom the goods are delivered is known as pledge. Duties of pledger. Pledger has the following duties. Number one, the pawner or pledger, one and the same thing. You can call pawner also, you can call pledger also, one and the same thing. The pledger is liable to pay the debt or perform the promise as the case may be. So the pledger is liable to pay the debt or perform the promise for which the goods have been kept as security. Number B, it is a duty of the pawner to compensate the pledgee for any extraordinary expenses incurred by him for preserving the goods pledged. C, it is a duty of the pledger to disclose all the faults which may put the pledgee under extraordinary risk. D, if losses occur to the pledgee due to defect in pledger's title to the goods, the pledger must indemnify the pledgee. E. If the pledgee sells the goods due to default by the pledger may pay the deficient. But to same all duties are of bailer. Suppose Nitish has taken a loan of 1 lakh from Aditya, and Nitish has kept his mobile phone with Aditya as a security. Now, if Nitish do not repay the loan, Aditya will sell the mobile phone and recover the loan. Now, Aditya sold the mobile phone of Nitish and recovered only 80,000 rupees. The loan was of 1 lakh rupees, but Aditya could recover only 80,000 rupees. In such a case, Nitish will have to pay remaining 20,000 to Aditya. Nitish will have to pay remaining 20,000 to Aditya. So, bachcho, this is contract of pledge. This is contract of pledge. Now, I am sharing another PPT with you. Last, in special contract, this is last topic. Contract of agency. Contract of agency. As per section 182 of the Contract Act, an agent is a person employed to do any act for another or to represent another in dealing with third persons. The person for whom such act is done or who is represented is called the principal. Thus, it is clear from the definition that an agent is a connecting link between his principal and third parties. So, bachcho, who is an agent? Agent is a person who is employed by some other person to represent the another person in dealing with third person. For example, if I want to take an insurance, the insurance company owner will not come at my home and explain me about insurance. The insurance company have hired some persons who represent them in dealing with third persons. The persons who are hired by insurance company is known as agents. So insurance company has hired some agents. These agents will deal with third persons on behalf of insurance company. These agents will deal with third person on behalf of insurance company. So in contract of agency, there is a contract between in a company and a person. That person is authorized by the company to deal with third person on behalf of the company. Now the insurance agent will represent the company. He will tell you about the advantages of of insurance, advantages of associated with the company. He will tell you about the company and everything. So agent is a person employed to do any act for another or to represent another in dealing with third persons. The person for whom such act is done or who is represented is called as principal. The agent represent whom? The agent represent the principal. The company who have appointed agent to represent the company in dealing with third person. The company will be known as principal. The person appointed will be known as agent, and the person dealing with agent will be known as third person. So the person for whom such act is done or who is so represented is called the principal. Thus, it is clear from the definition that an agent is a connecting link between its principal and third parties. So, बच्चों, this agent is a connecting link between principal and third party. Agent is a connecting link between principal and third party. Principles of agency. Contracts of agencies are based on two important principles. Number one, whatever a person can do personally shall also be allowed to be done through an agent, except in case of contracts involving personal services such as painting, marriage, singing, etc. But the principle of contract says that whatever a person is allowed to do personally is allowed to do through an agent. But suppose you went to buy a car, who deals with you? The salesman. Salesman is an agent appointed by the company. The salesman will tell you about all the advantages of car, about all the features of car, about the price of car, how their car is better than another car. So that salesperson is an agent that is appointed by company. That salesperson represent the company on behalf of the company. So that company owner is authorized that he can appoint an agent who will deal with third person on behalf of that owner. But suppose in a marriage, a person made a contract with Arijit Singh to come and sing in their marriage. And Arijit Singh charged 10 crore rupees for that. Now, Arijit Singh cannot send anyone else on his behalf to sing. He will himself have to come and sing because it involves personal service. They have paid 10 crore for the voice of Arijit Singh. Arijit Singh has to come and sing, not anyone else. Now suppose Upender is getting married with a lady, a girl. Now in such a case, Upender himself has to go and take the 7 rounds around the fire. Upender cannot send anyone else to take 7 rounds around the fire on behalf of Upender because in this personal service is involved. So whatever a person can do personally shall be allowed to be done through an agent, except except in case of contracts involving personal services such as painting, marriage, singing, etc. He who does not act through an duly authorized agent does it by himself. That is, the act of the agent are considered the act of the principal. Whatever the act of agent is, we will consider those act as the act of principal. Essential features of contract of agency. Number one, agreement between agency and principal. Obviously, there has to be a contract between agent and principal. If there is no contract between agent and principal, a agent cannot represent the company or principal. So there should be a valid contract between agent and principal, where agent is authorized to represent the principal on behalf of the principal. Competency of principal. The principal should be competent to contract. If the principal is not competent to contract, the agent will automatically not competent to contract. Contractual relationship should be there. Creation of legal relation should be there. Consideration does not required. For example, I purchased a car, and on the date of delivery, I got some work, and my brother went on the showroom and took the delivery. So my brother is my agent who act on my behalf and taken the delivery. For this, my brother is not charging anything. So for a contract between principal and agent, it should not compulsory that there should be some consideration. It can be done free of cost. Intention of the party to act. Now, let us do some illustrations. Number one, security or protection against a loss or compensation means A. Indemnity, B. Guarantee, C. Payment, A. Pledge. Security or protection against a law or compensation means A. Indemnity. The object of entering into a contract to protect the promisee against unanticipated losses. A. Indemnity. B. Guarantee. C. Payment. D. Pledge. The object of entry into a contract to protect the promisee against unanticipated losses. Answer is A. Indemnity. A contract to perform the promises made or discharge the liabilities of the third person in case of its failure to discharge such liabilities. A. Indemnity. B. Guarantee. C. Bailment. Or D. Pledge. So, a contract to perform the promises made or discharge the liabilities of the third person in case of his failure to discharge such liabilities. A. Indemnity. B. Guarantee. C. Bailment. D. Pledge. Answer is B. Guarantee. Dash is the delivery of goods by one person to another for some purpose upon a contract that the goods shall, when the purpose is accomplished, be returned, otherwise disposed of according to the direction of the person delivering them. A. Indemnity. B. Guarantee. C. Bailment. D. Pledge. Delivery of goods from one person to another upon a contract for the purpose for the work to be done. Answer is C. Bailment. Dash is a variety of bailment only. A. Indemnity. B. Guarantee. C. Pledge. D. None of the above. C. Pledge is a variety of bailment. Dash is a person employed to do any act for another or to represent another in dealing with third person. A. Bailer. B. Agent. C. Pledgee. D. None of the above. A person employed to do any act for person or to represent another. To represent another. B. Agent. Agent is a person. Kinds of bailment: gracious bailment, B. Non-gracious bailment, C both A and B, D none. Answer is C both. Gracious bailment and non-gracious bailment is a kind of bailment. Duties of bailer. A. Bailiff duty to disclose faults in goods. B. Duty to pay necessary expenses. C. Duty to indemnify bailee for premature termination. D. All of the above. Answer is D. All of the above. Duties of pledger. A. Duty to take reasonable care of the pledged goods. Duty not to make unauthorized use of pledged goods. C. Duty to return the goods when the debt has been repaid or the promise has been performed. D. All of the above. Answer is D. All of the above. 50. So, Bacho, I'm sharing another PPT with you now, and now we are going to start with what is Sales of Goods Act. Sales of Goods Act 1930. Sales of Goods Act 1930. This 1930 means that this act, Sales of Goods Act, has been introduced in 1930. It deals with sales of goods. Now, in 1930, transactions related to sale or purchase of goods were regulated by Indian Contract Act 1872. But till 1930, whatever transactions relating to sale or purchase of goods has been dealt with in Indian Contract Act 1872 only. But for the transactions related to sale and purchase of goods, new act is introduced in 1930, that is Sales of Goods Act. Now, all the transactions which are related to sales and purchase of goods comes under Sales of Goods Act 1930. In 1930, a separate act called the Sales of Goods Act 1930 was passed. It came into force on 1st July 1930. With effect from 22nd September 1963, the word Indian was also removed. Now, the present act is called the Sales of Goods Act 1930. Presently, the act which we are dealing with is known as the Sales of Goods Act 1930. Definition of a contract of sale. Section 4 defines a contract of sale as a contract whereby a seller transfers or agrees to transfer the property in goods to the buyer for a price. Section 4 defines a contract of sale as a contract whereby a seller transfers or agrees to transfer the property in goods to the buyer for a price. So, bachcho, what is a contract of sale? A contract of sale is a contract in which a seller transfers or agrees to transfer the property in goods to the buyer for a price. As you can see the photo, whenever we go in a market, suppose I want to buy a packet of biscuit, so I made a contract with the shopkeeper where the shopkeeper has given me the biscuit and I have given him 50 rupees. This is a contract of sale. This is a contract of sale where the shopkeeper has given me the goods and I have given him the price. Essentials of a contract of sale: two parties, goods, transfer of property, price, essential elements of a valid contract. Now we are going to discuss this one by one. Two parties. Obviously, sir, in a contract of sale, there should be two parties. One is buyer. Buyer means a person who buys or agrees to buy a good. Seller means a person who sells or agrees to sell a good. Goods. But the goods means everything which is a movable property. Goods means every kind of movable property. Immovable property does not come under contract Sales of Goods Act. Immovable property comes under Indian Contract Act. If you are purchasing or if you are selling any immovable property like building, factory, house, so it will be dealt with Indian Contract Act. And if you are dealing with any movable property, if you are dealing with any movable property, it will be dealt with Sales of Goods Act 1930. So goods here in Sales of Goods Act, goods means every kind of movable property. Sale of immovable property is not covered, is not covered under Sales of Goods Act. Transfer of property. Here property means ownership. In a contract of sale, it is ownership that is transferred or agreed to be transferred as against transfer of mere possession. So बच्चों, in contract of sale, the person who is selling you the product will transfer the ownership along with the product and you will give him the money. For example, I went to buy a television. I asked the shopkeeper the price of television. Shopkeeper told me that the price is 1 lakh rupees. I said, okay, done. I given 1 lakh rupees to shopkeeper. That shopkeeper has given me the television. So he has made the delivery of television along with the ownership. Now I am the owner of the television, not that shopkeeper. Price. The consideration in a contract of money, in the contract of sale, has necessarily to be money. When there is no consideration, it amounts to gift, not sale. So, बच्चों, for example, Aditya want to sell his scooty. Aditya made a contract with Upender. Upender said, okay, I will purchase your scooty for 10,000. Aditya said, okay, done. Now, Upender has given 10,000 rupees to Aditya and Aditya has given the scooty to Upender. So here price means money. Upender has given 10,000 rupees. It is a money. So it will be covered under sales of goods side. But suppose Aditya said that I will give you the scooty Upender and Upender said I will give you my bike. Aditya said okay. Aditya has given his scooty to Upender and Upender has given his bike to Aditya. In such a case, it will be known as exchange. From Aditya got scooty in place of bike, Upender got bike in place of scooty. It is known as exchange. It is not known as sales. That's why it will not be covered under contract of sale. Goods offered for consideration. Goods which are offered for consideration, it will not amount to sale. It will be amounted barter, mean exchange. So बच्चों cash includes check, credit card, Paytm, PhonePe, whatever the form is, it all means check, cash only. Essential elements of a valid contract. All essential elements of a valid contract as per the Indian Contract Act 1972 must be present. बच्चों contract of sale is also a contract. So all the essential elements of contract will automatically be covered into this. Because contract of sale is also a contract, so all the essential elements which we have discussed in Indian Contract Act, all those essential elements will automatically covered under this. The party to a contract must be competent to contract. Consent of the party must be free. Object of the contract should be lawful, and etc. etc. Sale and agreement to sale. Where under a contract of sale, the property in the goods is transferred from seller to buyer, it is called as sale. For example, I went to a shopkeeper and I asked the shopkeeper the price of AC, air condition. Shopkeeper told me that the air condition will cost you 50,000 rupees. Now, I have given 50,000 rupees to shopkeeper and the shopkeeper has transferred AC to me. This is known as actual sale, where the goods has been transferred to the buyer. Agreement to sale means a contract. Agreement to sales means a contract of sale where property is not transferred, or the transfer of property is going to take place at a future date. Now, again, the same example. I went to a shopkeeper to buy a air condition. The shopkeeper told me the price will be 1 lakh rupees. I said, okay, I will give you 1 lakh rupees. I will come tomorrow and purchase the AC. We made a contract. Now, this is agreement to sale for a future date. Tomorrow I will go, I will give the amount and purchase and take the AC. This is known as agreement to sale. So all these are differences between sale and agreement to sale. Classification of goods. Goods may be classified as existing goods, future goods, and contingent goods. Existing goods are those goods which are owned or possessed by the seller at the time of contract. For example, I went to purchase a mobile phone. I told the shopkeeper that I want an iPhone. The shopkeeper showed me an iPhone. I checked the iPhone. I found it very good, and I purchased the iPhone. So that iPhone is an existing iPhone, existing goods which are present with the seller at the time of contract. I checked the iPhone, I take a selfie, I found it very good, and I said, okay, I will purchase the iPhone. So existing goods are those goods which are present with the seller at the time of contract. Existing goods may be of two types, specific or generic. Specific goods means goods identified and agreed upon at the time of contract of sale is made. Ascertained goods are those normally which are not specified at the time of contract of sale. Future goods. But the future goods means goods to be manufactured or produced or acquired by the seller after making the contract of sale. For example, I made a contract with a farmer that after 2 months, when your crop, when you will complete the farming of wheat crop, I will purchase all your wheat for rupees 1 lakh. And I have given him 50,000 in advance. So when we made the contract with that farmer that I will purchase the wheat, at that time wheat was not present with the farmer. He will do the farming work, and after 2 months I can take the wheat from him. So that wheat is known as future goods, which are to be manufactured by the farmer after making the contract. Contingent goods. Contingent goods are the goods, the acquisition of which by the seller depend upon contingency, which may or may not happen. Contingent good is a part of future good only. For example, Nitish made a contract with Rahul where Nitish told to Rahul that I will give you 1 lakh rupees if you can get me the painting that is with Shilpi. Rahul tells Nitish, okay, I will purchase the painting from Shilpi and I will sell it to you. This is known as contingent goods, where it may happen also and it may not happen also. If Shilpi will sell the goods to Rahul, then only Rahul can resell it to Nitish. If Shilpi do not sell the goods to Rahul, Rahul cannot resell it to Nitish. So that painting will be known as contingent goods. Now, I'm sharing another PPT with you now. What is conditions and warranty? Section 12 subsection 2 defines a condition as a stipulation essential to the main purpose of a contract, the breach of which gives rise to a right to treat the contract as cancelled. For example, I purchased this mobile phone. I purchased this phone from Nitish. Now, this is obviously assumed. This is need not to be tell. This mobile phone should be capable of incoming and outgoing calls. This mobile phone should be capable of incoming and outgoing calls. This is the main purpose of purchasing a mobile phone. But this mobile phone has some default, and I cannot make a call from this mobile phone. Neither anyone can make a phone call on this mobile phone. So now I will return the mobile phone back to Nitish and this contract will be cancelled because the main condition is not fulfilled. The main condition, the main purpose of purchasing the mobile phone is do the calling. If I cannot do the call from mobile phone, what is the purpose of purchasing a mobile phone? So this contract will be treated as cancelled. Section 12, subsection 3 defines warranty as stipulation collateral to the main purpose of the contract, the breach of which gives rise to claim for damages and not to right to reject the goods and treat the condition as repudiated. Now बच्चों, suppose I purchase a laptop from a shopkeeper. The laptop has a warranty of 1 year, that if there is any technical problem in laptop, they will repair the laptop. After 1 month, my laptop stops working. Now in such a case, I cannot cancel the contract. I will just give the laptop back to them. They will repair the laptop and give it back to me because warranty is there. Warranty is a collateral condition, additional condition, not the main condition. So if the laptop stops working, I cannot cancel the contract or I cannot reject the laptop. I will just went to the shop and get the laptop repaired. Now the effect of a breach of condition is to give every party a right to treat the contract cancelled. That is, if price has been paid, the buyer can refund the price plus damages for breach. So बच्चों, if condition is breached, if any condition is breached, condition is the main purpose of the contract. If I told you I purchase a mobile phone, but I am not able to do calling from that mobile phone, so the main purpose is not fulfilling. My main purpose of doing the calling is not fulfilled. In such a case, I can cancel the contract and take my money back from the shopkeeper. But but in case of breach of warranty, only damages can be claimed. That is, the buyer must accept the goods and claim damages for the breach of warranty. So in case of breach of warranty, only the damage can be claimed. That is, if my laptop is not working, I will go to the shop and I will tell them that my laptop is not working. Please repair the laptop because it is in warranty. So they will repair the laptop for you, but you cannot cancel the contract. You cannot claim your money back. So this is a difference between condition and warranty. This is a difference between condition and warranty. So condition is a main purpose of the contract. And if that condition is not fulfilled, you can cancel the contract and claim your money back. Whereas warranty is an additional condition to the contract. If there is breach in warranty, you cannot cancel the contract. You cannot claim your money back. You can just ask for the repair for whatever damage has been done. That is known as warranty. So condition is the main purpose of the contract. Warranty is the additional purpose of the contract. So बच्चों, in today's class we have discussed agreement of sale, condition, warranty. In next class we are going to complete this topic condition, warranty, and we are going to start the next topic. So thank you everyone for joining. Please take care, stay safe, stay healthy.